In 1998, India conducted the Pokhran nuclear tests. The response from the United States and the broader Western Bloc was immediate and severe. They hit New Delhi with a wall of economic and technological sanctions. But in the middle of that global freeze-out, one major Western power broke ranks. France refused to sanction India. Instead of joining the embargo, Paris recognized New Delhi's security concerns and kept diplomatic channels open. A year later, during the 1999 Kargil War, the Indian Air Force needed immediate upgrades for high-altitude combat. While other nations hesitated, France bypassed the red tape and delivered laser-guided bomb kits directly to India's Mirage 2000 fighter jets. Those specific moments of crisis laid a unique foundation. When the rest of the globe turned its back, Paris proved it could be relied on, establishing France as India's ultimate trusted outsider. Fast forward to today, and that historical goodwill has evolved into a highly visible, top-tier diplomatic partnership between the leaders of both nations. This chart shows data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute tracking military hardware. Historically, India sourced nearly 70% of its defense imports from Russia, but recently that number has plummeted to roughly 40%. Over the same period, French defense imports, driven by Rafale fighter jet contracts, have soared to 29%. Looking at these diverging trend lines, a single question has taken over the global media cycle. Is New Delhi finally walking away from its oldest ally? And is France officially replacing Russia? France holds a distinct advantage in Europe because it operates without the bitter colonial friction that defines India's relations with nations like Portugal. After Indian independence, Paris executed a peaceful handover of its territories, like Puducherry in 1963. That graceful exit left behind a cultural footprint built on mutual respect rather than resentment. That respect translates directly into heavy diplomatic cover. Today, France is the only permanent member of the UN Security Council that backs India's bid for a permanent seat with absolutely zero caveats or conditions. They are bound by a shared geopolitical concept called strategic autonomy. Both nations strictly refuse to let Washington or NATO dictate their foreign policy. France provides a partnership based on shared ideology rather than an arms catalog. They are cooperating to build a multipolar system where no single superpower sets all the rules. But assuming those defense import numbers mean Russia is being replaced entirely ignores how the Indian military actually functions on the ground. The physical backbone of India's legacy combat power relies almost entirely on Russian technology. The Air Force flies Sukhoi fighter jets, and the Army relies on thousands of T-90 main battle tanks. That presence extends to the naval fleet, with massive platforms like the INS Vikramaditya aircraft carrier, and to the skies above with the deployment of Russian-built S-400 air defense systems. You cannot swap out the maintenance infrastructure, the operating software, and the millions of spare parts required to keep that legacy fleet functional overnight. That creates a massive long-term structural tether to Moscow. This chart breaks down a massive economic shift triggered by the Ukraine war. Facing global market chaos, India secured a massive influx of discounted Russian crude oil. Before the conflict, Russia supplied about 3% of India's oil imports. Today, that number sits at 50%. Between the thousands of legacy military platforms requiring constant upkeep and a vast, cheap energy supply, Russia remains an absolute necessity for India's immediate security and economic stability. New Delhi is navigating heavy geopolitical pressure from the ongoing war in Ukraine, alongside deep concerns over Moscow's increasingly tight alliance with Beijing. So rather than attempting a one-to-one replacement of its oldest partner, India has established a strict division of labor between Moscow and Paris. Russia's role is now firmly defined by maintaining existing legacy hardware, facilitating nuclear energy projects, and keeping the cheap crude oil flowing. France, meanwhile, is moving to the center of India's modernization efforts, fulfilling requirements for next-generation aviation, artificial intelligence integration, and advanced submarine technology. France is stepping in exactly where emerging technology is required, operating as the modern vanguard to complement Russia's heavy structural anchor. This deliberate split in global responsibilities reflects a calculated move in India's long-term strategy, designed to insulate New Delhi from external market or political shocks. At the core of this pivot is the doctrine of supply chain sovereignty. Indian leadership recognizes that true military readiness requires ensuring no single nation holds a monopoly over their defense capabilities. and they are already pushing this philosophy beyond weapons procurement. Deep economic integration is underway, highlighted by the expansion of India's digital payment system, UPI, directly into the French market. In an unstable, multipolar world, true power comes from options. By cultivating a deep partnership with France while preserving its critical ties to Russia, India is demonstrating exactly how to master strategic autonomy.